Good afternoon. We're live again. Thank you so much for joining SWIHA for our 21st day of coaching. My name is Casey Miller, and I'm a part of the National Life Coaching event that we're having here at SWIHA, and thank you so much for joining us. So I just want to acknowledge that I have a client here with me today, actually a brave seeker that we'll be working on. So just to get started so that we know who's out there today, our topic is, who would we be without the story that we have held? And how do we rewrite that story? So if you will, I just want to know, for those of you that are watching, do any of you have a story? I know that's kind of a trick question because we all have a story. So Melanie, I see that you're on. Richard, I see that you've joined. So if you will, just be real honest with yourself and say, yes, I have a story. Of course we have a story. So if you wouldn't mind, just to get the action started, do you have a story? So I'm going to take a deep breath and just acknowledge that I have two stories that I'm actively aware of today. One is that my story is I'm still not independent when it comes to doing live, Facebook Live. And my story is that I am excited to hold someone else's story. So that's part of it. Is there's a fear that I can't do this by myself, and then there's another story about I love serving. Oh, Carla, you love my necklace. Don't you love this necklace? Yes, there's a story behind this necklace. and the story, first off, I'll just say that if you want a necklace like this, you can't have a necklace like this because there's only one necklace like this. And it was designed by a woman named Sally Brass. She lives in Tucson, and she designs beautiful one-of-a-kind necklaces. And so some people would not cover this necklace. Others say that they would. We all have stories, so that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Richard, you say you have many stories. So with coaching, let's begin. So this is the story of coaching. Once upon a time, there were two people, and they came together to create something. So Carolyn, when you think about the once upon a time, take a deep breath and where do you think you hold stories in your body? Are you aware of where you might hold stories in your bodies?
Well, I think they can be in many places.
They can be in many places, that's true.
Even with my clients, I love to use, I don't think it's my saying, I think it's a common saying that we use in the holistic world, that there are issues in our tissues.
Issues in our tissues. So one of the things that is happening this weekend is that Carolyn and I are involved actually in a Polarity 1 class, and we're on our break to talk about this. And our stories are in our body. Those of you that are watching right now, just take a deep breath. And if you're aware of a story that is in your body, today I'm going to ask you to focus on your heart stories or on your throat stories. Would you be willing to do that, Carolyn? Your
sure,
heart
absolutely.
stories? Not that there aren't stories below our heart. And we definitely know that oftentimes the stories that we hold in our bodies below our heart actually become disease. That is a whole process. That's another story. Take a deep breath. And if you will, look at a story. Think of a story that you might have held in your heart. Maybe something that was close to you, where you had a heart dream that didn't come true. Perhaps a heartache. Or, Carolyn, I'm going to ask you to breathe into something that you want with all of your heart. Whew, there we go. So if you will, those of you that are watching right now, Richard, Lindsay, Monet, would you breathe into your heart and just hold something in your heart, in your mind, that you really, really would like to have, something like a heart desire, and just type that in right now. What is your heart's desire? So Carolyn, you and I started on this conversation yesterday.
Yes.
And when you breathe in your heart's desire, what is your heart's desire?
So I am a little nervous. My hands are sweaty.
And that's a story. Isn't that amazing? Like that, the story has to come out. Our body reacts. Yeah.
My heart's desire is that I want people to know God, the Father the way that I know my Father.
Okay.
He's so amazing. He's so amazing. He's such a light in my world, and I want people to know how he shows up, how when I pray he answers, when I talk to him, he has ways of being in my life that is available to everybody. And I want people to know that.
So you just want to know that, you want everyone to know that personal connection. Yeah. So for some people, they might you say Father.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Imagine that you're working with someone and Father doesn't relate to them. What would be another place of expression that you have around that connection with Father? What else?
So I think the way that I best share with people, because I know that there are people that don't know him, either they just have never known him because that's not been part of their world growing up, or they maybe had some exposure to, and I'm going to say church in a building, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they've had a connection to the Father.
Right.
And so and I think that even that there's some of that in my own experience. And I think that one of the best ways that I share with people is from my own experience, because a lot of times I can draw from something.
So let's just stop right there and ask those of you that are joining us, if you were to draw from something and you were wanting to connect with that heart space, that bigger heart space, it could be Father, him, just type it right now if you will, Tammy, Carolyn, Liz, Steve. When you think about connecting with that Father, that bigger piece, what do you call that? In fact, this is one of the very first things, the first time that I did a live, we were talking about what do you call that place of spirit or that place of divine. So right now, hi Sandy, thanks for joining us again. Tammy, Sandy, Carolyn, Liz, Steve, will you just type in what is it that you call that heart space that you're wanting to connect? Carolyn calls it Father, yes? And you're wanting to connect with that. Now, this is the piece. That's your heart desire. You want to teach people that same connection you have. Is that right? Yeah. So this was the coaching question. Do you have a story about the fact that you can't speak about that or you can't show up? Was that your story, Carolyn?
We did some work yesterday, and I have not been able to come forth. Not because I'm embarrassed in any way or ashamed in any way of my Father. I just treasure my relationship with God. There just seemed to be something blocking me being able to know how to, I've never been on Facebook. This is the first time ever. I don't even know how to use the Facebook video live.
But imagine, isn't that the same thing? It's like whether we go Facebook Live or we're trying to think about speaking a piece of truth. Woo! The very first thing is that we have to be willing.
Yes.
So my question to you, my coaching question to you, if you took a deep breath, are you willing to be very visual, very visible, speaking about God and your connection? Okay.
Yes.
So I would ask those of you, hi Martine, Sandy, when you think about a willingness to speak about God, Spirit, how willing are you? Like if you really take a deep breath, do you just put it out there? Are you a little bit nervous? So what's the emotion when you think about, wow, I'm going to be on Facebook and I'm going to be talking about this desire to speak about God, like my Father, the connection, like what's the emotion?
Well, now it's excitement. I'm so excited. I am so excited. But I have to be honest. Yesterday there was like almost like a ball in my throat. Yes. I couldn't. Yes. And it wasn't because I was afraid to acknowledge him. There was something else there, that there was pain and wounds about being seen.
There you go.
By people, about being seen by the world, about being seen by people that know me, people that don't know me. Because there have been stories in my life when I have shown up or I have shared what was from my heart, it wasn't always received well.
Yeah. So boy, talk about that. Take a deep breath. Imagine that there are people out there that totally relate to you, Carolyn. Like, does anybody really relate to what Carolyn's saying, that she has a willingness to show up in her authentic truth and in her vulnerability, and yet there is this, am I going to be judged? Am I going to? So part of it is that willingness and that readiness. Hi, Hector. You say that you connect with Jehovah and the Almighty. Mandy, you just say yes, that you're affirming. She's affirming you. Thank you on that. So imagine right now that we're in this readiness and willingness. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Any resistance at all in continuing to say, you know what, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to connect with what I consider my divine purpose.
Yes.
Yes.
I am going to connect.
I am going to connect with my divine purpose. I'm going to show up willing and ready. Whew. What happens when you breathe into this thought of I'm willing and ready to speak my truth?
I think that was something it was there and I hadn't embraced it.
I
really hadn't embraced it. It was the act of turning the page on what was my story.
Ooh.
What was that ball in my throat? Fear, guilt or shame or whatever else that was in there from different experiences that I had in church that weren't maybe the best for me, that felt like I was being judged.
Wow.
And, even in the world where I meet people who have a different view and am trying to share that.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that without letting them feel judged. I want people to feel honored the way that God honors people. I know God loves everyone, whether they know him or they don't know him.
So now you're a polarity practitioner.
I mostly did the cranial program, but I have polarity 1 under my belt.
And yet I hear you saying that your calling is to really help people get back in touch with whatever they know is to be their God.
For them to connect. Well, if God is love, and I know everyone connects with love, that's one thing that I will say has been common ground to be able to have those dialogues with people. Everyone knows what real love feels like, and there's some that even for me, I think God had to teach me what real love was, because I didn't experience it the way He can unconditionally give it.
So
is that connection point? I think that's a connection point for relating to other people, even if they believe something else. Because everybody wants to be loved, and if God is love, no matter what you are calling Him, if God is love,
there you go.
Then you have a common platform to be able to talk about how love reaches people, how God reaches people, because He is the epitome of unconditional love. Man's love is broken, and man's love is at best imperfect.
So I just really want to breathe into that, because when I was hearing you speak for a minute, I was like, oh my gosh, what if I don't believe exactly like Carolyn? So I got to tell you, there was a little piece here. And when you finally released into, when you said, I get that we have to just meet God wherever we have to meet God wherever they are, meet people wherever that good God is.
Here's the thing about God. God will meet you wherever you are at.
Yeah.
If you know God, He'll meet you there. He'll meet you in church. He'll meet you on your yoga. He doesn't care. If you've wandered far away from God, He will meet you. He is the shepherd that will pursue you when you've wandered. And He will pursue you and pursue you and pursue you because He loves you that much. We don't always know because we're running sometimes the opposite direction.
So let's just talk a minute about this whole thing. Sandy, you started to say it, that you say that you have had a story about being judged in church. Isn't that the most fascinating thing? I think when we really look at this, why is it that church create so many stories for us. I think we could pretty much ask everybody, have you ever had a story that started at church or started out of those that congregated in church? Like, what was that about? What happened?
Well, I think that what's happening is, you know, for a lot of people, and I think that the understanding of God is not always there. The real relational. God is a relational God, and that's really what He wants with every one of His kids.
So ooh, that's what He wants with every one of His kids. All right, so let's just be in relational. Right now, I'm going to ask, this is a really dramatic question. Those of you that are joining us, is that a true statement for you? Is God relational? And when you think about relational, Carolyn, like I hear you going like this, or I see you going like that. So talk to me about the relational part. Like I keep seeing you do this. Talk about that.
Well, I think it's because He has become so personal. So intimate in my life. Okay. I can have dialogue with Him.
Beautiful.
About anything, about everything, about the things I love in the world, about the things that I don't like in the world, about the things that really tug on my heartstrings in good ways and bad ways, that He is going to hear me and see me. And understand.
So, Richard, I just want to acknowledge that you say most of us have spent a lifetime recovering from religion. So, are you talking about religion?
That is actually what I'm talking about, because there is, you know.
Is it religion or is it spiritualism?
Well, what I want to call it is you know, whether we realize it or not, we're all fighting the battle of good and evil in our lives. And you know, God doesn't create junk. So I just want each and every one of you to know that there is no junk, okay? God doesn't create junk, okay? Absolutely. Everything He creates is good. But, you know, when Satan was cast from heaven, this became his playground, and he just roams. He roams and he waits to see how he can divide, separate, steal. He steals, kills, and destroys. If he can steal your relationship with God, that is the first thing he is after.
So that's a whole belief. Yes, and let's just stick with this for a moment. If you were to teach us as a teacher how to invite that relationship with the divine, with spirit, with God, like talk about this whole thing of invitation. There's a willingness, a willingness, a readiness. Like talk about inviting spirit, God relationship into your life.
Okay, well, you know, a great example would be, you know, I believe not only is God relational, He's experiential. Mm-hmm. He wants us to know Him.
So talk about you. Don't talk about us, but talk about you. Like my experience, my relationship.
My relationship with God has been just always inviting Him into every situation and asking Him, how does He want me to look at this person? How does He want me to look at this circumstance? Because He really does know and have all the answers that I ever need. And a part of it is me surrendering what I think I know about this person, what I think I know about the situation, that a lot of times our natural eyes can trick us.
Yeah.
Because we see just limited in a limited fashion. But if we lay that down at His feet and say, I want how you want me to see with your eyes.
So Mandy, you're saying that church has divided people, and that can be people's experience. Sometimes the word church kind of separates. Yes. And what I love is that you're saying it's about that personal relationship with whatever that divine connection is.
Right, yeah. Right, and He wants us to be able to connect with other people because He's
So one of the things about coaching, I got to tell you, coaching is never about us telling everyone about us. We got to make it totally about you.
Okay.
Remember, I said that it's all about you. So right now, if you were to rewrite your story and you were to invite that relationship, what would that be for you? Like right now, your heart's desire is that you want to be a messenger.
I do feel like I am a messenger.
I am a messenger.
A messenger from God. and for people, and to shine a light of truth into
So
things.
knowing now that you can be on TV and have hundreds of people watching you, what's the invitation that you're going to give yourself to be empowered to be a messenger?
So the invitation
For you, it's not about them, it's about you.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah. And what do you in the moment need to do, choose to do, invite yourself to do, to be a...
So I choose to connect with those who are seeking to connect with the Father in ways, I won't fear Facebook the same way that I have.
So maybe you're going to say,
to rest.
Are you saying if you're wanting to connect and need some coaching around how to connect, they can connect with you?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, so that's one way.
Yes.
Let's make it all about you. What is it that your heart's desire is? Now you know you can go on Facebook.
Yes.
Yes. What else do you know in your body sense about you and what your heart's desire is?
So I know that I have much to teach about what my Father has taught me that he wants to impart to others.
Okay. So I get very clearly that you feel you, in your truth, that you are to invite others, teach others. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How to invite him in even, and how to know God through
Okay.
experience and through relationship.
So right now, imagine that those of you that are watching are interested in rewriting something in your life, something that might have to do with an old story about judgment or disconnection that may have to do with a church or not. What might that be? Richard or Mandy, Tiffany, Hector, is there anything that you are willing to say, you know, that was an old story, I want to give that up? So when you think about your old story, the old story was, what was the old story?
Well, the really old story that kept me from having a personal relationship was that God was mean and that he was wrathful.
So that, oh wow, that had some juice to it. So there was an old story that God was mean and wrathful. Have you ever heard this story? God punishes you?
Yes.
Oh,
that was part of my story.
Oh, that was part, oh. So those of you that are with us today, you might just say, if you have any old stories about God, isn't that the most amazing one? It's like God will punish you. And how do you live in that story? Like what happened to you when you believe that? I know what happened to me. What happened?
Oh goodness. All it did was keep me trapped.
Yes.
Trapped like in bondage, literally, to fear, to
Yes.
shame, to guilt, to condemning myself, to doubting myself, to
So that was
doubting
a
God.
That's an old story.
Yes, all of that was part of that story.
This is so amazing. Now tell me if this is true. Once you changed your story about how God was, did anything else in your life change?
Absolutely. Once I opened myself to the idea that he wasn't that mean God, that he was actually happy. He's always happy.
Yeah, okay.
And he's got a sense of humor, and that he's loving, and that he's playful, and that he's adventurous.
So stop right there. Carolyn, would you describe yourself as loving, adventurous, playful?
Yes.
Is that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So right now, what if, oh my gosh, I never thought about this before. What if the way we described God was really us describing ourselves? Oh my gosh, would that be amazing? So think about our old story.
Yeah.
Was the old story ever about you being judgmental,
Oh yes.
angry,
Yeah.
mean?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. There was a part of me that was, because there was out of places of woundedness.
There you go.
I had bitterness, I had resentment, I had judgment, not even just at myself, but towards others, because I didn't even know how to look at what was in me.
And so that could have been the way that you held the story of God.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So as you forgave yourself, your picture or story about God changed.
It just gets brighter and brighter and better,
That's amazing though. Is that the awareness though that, oh my gosh, the more healed you become, the more you're feeling like you want to be a messenger for the divine.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And it's out of my love for what I realize he's done for me. Situations where I thought I was alone, that he has come back in, healed me of those situations, and reframed those memories to show me I was never alone.
So the transformation I hear you making is that you began to see God differently when you saw yourself differently.
Yes.
Or was it? Yeah.
Well, yes, that is a component of it, that I had to be able to let him come in to the places where I've been broken, where I've been wounded, where I've been hurt, and heal those, because Jesus is really the healer. And even in the work that I do as a healer, he's always the instrument.
So,
that I'm the instrument, he's the one actually doing the healing.
So let's just take a moment right now and say, come, and your words would be, who would you invite in to create that healing or change?
So Jesus.
Okay. So that's your word.
You are, for me, the way, the truth, and the life. The way that I have life in you and have come alive in you.
So that's your way, and you're willing to put that out there.
I'm willing to put it out there. Yeah, absolutely, because he has.
So that's the invitation.
Show
So if
me.
we have a willingness, a readiness to invite, that we can transform how we hold our stories about God and about ourselves. Wow.
Yes.
And that creates evolution.
Yes.
Woo! So in coaching, one of the things that we do is we work for this thing called aha.
Ahas are the best.
So what's your aha about your story? Is it about your story of God, or is it your story about you?
It really is about me letting go of the limitations that I put on myself
There you go.
to be able to express him with the fullness that he wanted me to express him with.
So I hear you saying, as you fully express him, God, that you're fully expressing yourself.
I am expressing myself as he designed me, because we're all unique, and I think that how I just know this from my husband, and I are very different personalities. He expresses through my husband very differently than me, and it's all beautiful.
So what's your takeaway? Like how your story now, you can get on Facebook. Your story now is, what's the transformation of your story? What's the evolution of your story?
The evolution of my story. I have to help me with that question.
Like after today, you can no longer say what? What is it you can no longer say after today? Or what can you say after today?
Oh, okay. So after today, I can no longer say that I don't know how to go out and share people how to know God, how to love God, how to experience God.
Is that amazing?
I know how to share that with people.
So we're having a similar thing that I've had before on Facebook where the comments stop showing up. So I'm assuming that we have comments that are showing up. Oh, good. Thank you. Hector, your old story was shame. The new story is that there is an almighty source that loves us unconditionally. Go, Hector. That source shows up in many forms, and all we have to do is choose love for ourselves and others. Ooh, that's beautiful. Sandy, you're saying that you have God bumps, and that Hector says, seriously, just let him come in.
That's right.
Wow,
That's really the answer. Just invite him. Invite him into your world.
Yeah. So, and then Cosmic says, walking a certain path gains perspective, and you can share experiences, insights, and meet that higher self by bringing yourself closer to God. So I think you have some followers. And that what I love is that you know it's not about fixing others.
No, it's really about letting him fix you so that you're able to better love others the way that he loves me.
Yeah.
Or you.
All right. So thank you so much for all that have joined us today and for participating. Sandy, I just want to acknowledge that said that fear of putting my toes over the invisible line that separates. I know you wrote that for me, right? Oh my goodness. That's yeah. And this is interesting. Fear of disappointing God. And that the rewrite is that God wants me to color outside the lines. That there is no box. There is no box. That God is unboxable. Yes. And that when we release our stories, what?
People's lives are just touched. Never try to put God in a box because he's so vast, so wide, so deep, so high. That, beautiful. You know, I don't know that in this lifetime any one of us can ever contain him all.
Well, thank you so much. Our 30 minutes are up, so we've had our 31 minutes. Thank you. So thank you. And thank you for shining. You can no longer not shine. Your story can't be that I can't go on Facebook because you can. And I just want to thank those of you that joined us, participated. We have about 10 more days of live coaching every day at noon, so please join us. Thank you so much for the opportunity to visit this whole concept that when we're ready and willing, we can invite transformation and evolution. Blessings, blessings.
Blessings to all of you. God bless you.